What up, Super Fun? Whoa, we got Beyblade X. Look at how ginormous this box is, guys. I'm excited to unbox this today. So let's get right to it. And following up with this, I got a ton of other Beyblade X products. So let's check it out. All right, Super Fun Force. Well, to start things off, let's take a look at the box really quick. Of course, on the front of BX07 Start Dash Set. Totally recommend getting this first and foremost if you're going to be able to get into the world of Beyblade X. This is obviously the best way. That's why they call it the Start Dash Set. You get the stadium with the white base and the black lining, so very simple. And then of course you get Dranzer Sword. You get a recolor version or a special color we'll take a look at. And this is the only way to get the string launcher currently. Now, interestingly enough, the ripcord launchers, just as I've said before with the sword launchers in DB and GT, the ripcord launchers are more powerful, especially in Beyblade X. So it'll be interesting to see how that evolves, because the string launcher, is again kind of like the standard. Most people like it because it's more convenient. You just pull the string and let go. The ripcord, you have to put it back. But the ripcord launcher that they included in the starter sets, the individual boosters, are, the smaller style. And, we'll take a look at that later. But let's keep going into this. Extreme Gear Sports, and the bottom is really nothing too interesting, as you can see. Same with the top, the side. Last thing we'll look at is the back, and then we'll give it an open. Here is the back. It shows it going up against the Scythe. Again, shows you everything you get in here. Duranza, you get the string launcher, the grip. Stadium gives you some of the stats here of Dran Sword. We'll bring that closer for some record keeping, guess you could say here. 360F, and you can see here the ratchet is recolored in blue. I think the original one we'll take a look at. I don't have the original one now, but we'll take a look at that one eventually when I get it. It's the only one I'm missing from all the opening products. I think it's clear. But other than that, shows you the others. Of course, BX1. These are the ones I'm talking about that give you the ripcords, the starter boosters. And then we have the Dran Sword again, the Scythe, the Wizard Arrow, and the Knight Shield. And yeah, different point systems right there, how you score. 1 point if you win by final spin, stamina. 2 points by a burst. 2 points if you knock them out into the corner pockets. And number 3, the extreme finish, if you get them knocked out into the large center pocket right there. Okay, without further ado, let's open this up. All right, or let's just rip it open. So this is how it's gonna come. Straight out the box. Oh, it's a clear stadium, not the white stadium. So the white stadium must be the one that comes in BX07 that has the green gear lining, which I really like. I'll have to get that one day as like my backup stadium, because I really like green, lime green. But this is a good standard one to have. It's clear, you can put stuff underneath it. And of course the black kind of doesn't stand out as much as something that's colored. So again, I recommend this is the starting one. And look at that. And I am so happy. A quick word on stadiums, that we are using a new stadium that I predicted in my video. I was wondering how similar the Beyblade X stadium would be to the DB stadium. And in one instance I was right, and that's the size. It's a large stadium. And finally, people aren't going to be using the old B33 stadium, which is fine to use if you're playing with the GT era. I would say even up to sparking. But again, this proves that if you guys haven't played DB, Dynamite Battle Burst on the actual standard base stadium, the B133 I believe, then you guys have been missing out. And I'll be doing a lot more videos on Dynamite Battle and GT, so don't worry about that. And then let's just continue opening this. We're gonna get through this pretty quick, but obviously, first and foremost, we want to take this out of the package. And the plastic wrapping, wow, look at that. So obviously it's going to have clip points here. There's a very fine gearing. One thing that I question is the downside is that what if over time some of these cogs break off? Probably won't affect the battle too much, but it wouldn't really feel as official if you're going to a tournament or something or an event and you have to use a stadium that has like missing cogs, because that could actually be detrimental to your your Beyblade combo, especially if you're an attack type. It would actually be better though if you're stamina or defense, because that means the attacker might miss some cogs and lose power or something. So that's something to think about. Now obviously Beyblade is a toy that's meant to be played with, so there's going to be wear and tear. The bays of course will be damaged and broken over time. We've seen that since the beginning. Even metal, a lot of Japanese players are showing that just within the first month of playing a lot with Beyblade X, the metal bays are already breaking as well. So they're not, invincible or anything. So the only thing is that stadiums have always been able to last a super long time, for almost forever, as long as you don't like crack it or something. But this, the only downside now is that you now have to kind of think about what's going to happen if these start to break. Like, would they just sell these pieces? Because it looks here, I don't want to try to pull it off, but there's little kind of like the puzzle piece joint connectors here. You can see actually one is popping out, so I had to snap that one back in. But I wonder how easy it is to take it out. So then maybe you can even swap the lining with it. Oh, I guess you can. You just push it down here. So it looks like you might be able to just change these pieces. So my other prediction is maybe to keep things going, they'll just sell these individually, and maybe they'll put some different colors and different designs. So you're pretty much just going to stick with the stadium. Do you want just like how they had in Dynamite Battle? Do you want clear? Do you want white? Or do you want that kind of smoky dark black? I think they also have a solid black in the older ones. But I know my DB one has kind of the smoky black where you can still see through it. And then you can custom swap out these gear linings. So pretty cool there. Okay. And then like they said, these pockets here are worth 2 points each. And then this is the 3-point if you basically knock them out of the stadium. So you'll see that when I put this on here. So this is the actual way. Actually, no, is this the way to put it on? No, it comes like this, right? Okay, so it comes like this. So it's like more easier to make it flat. But you're supposed to take it off and put it on this way, because as you can see, those pieces line up, the shapes. And then you need this gap right here, because this is where the 3-point extreme finish is. And then these 2 pockets here are the 2-point finishers. Okay, and let's end off with, ta-da, the Beyblades. I'm gonna pull these off camera really quick. You know what's interesting? These are a lot smaller than I thought they'd be. So my first critique is, Beyblade's been around since the 2000s, the early 2000s. So although they're always, advertising this for kids, right? We're in an era where if fans of the original Beyblade are, were kids themselves or even teenagers, they're going to be in their, 20s, 30s, and even 40s, right? Playing Beyblade X if they decide to get into it, for either themselves or their kids or a combination of both. I'm also an OG, I'm definitely older, but I didn't start with Beyblade until Burst, because I really wanted to try out a fun collectible toy that you can actually play with. And where basically I'm going with that is, one of my complaints about Beyblade's string launchers is I've always wanted them to have, like the sword launchers, bigger grips. So maybe I'll do a comparison video in the future. My DB stuff right now is in a bag because I'm going to take it. But this actually looks like it got even smaller. And obviously the string launcher you can see is tiny. The DB launchers were like at least a good, 50% overall larger. And they kind of had a slight curve. So I don't know, these might be a little bit longer, but they're still so tiny. But the only problem is they're not as ergonomic, because the DB and even the GT launchers had a little bit more of a curved, handlebars here. So I'm surprised. I did not know that this was going to be that small. So what I'm saying is, how is this friendly more towards adults? Because again, this is so tiny. And my hope was that DB would give you a way to customize, maybe give you like, an attachment piece. I don't know, that might be something that could pop off. So they would have to really just make the one piece itself here a larger handlebar. So that's kind of a downside. But again, string launchers are still fun. And again, they're convenient because you just go like that. And then here is the included grip. So the same thing here, the grip to me, it looks like the GT launcher that came with the gauge, right? The red and blue versions. And then of course, Hasbro released the Apocalypse, Prime Apocalypse set, which you can look at my video too, in light blue. And this kind of has that shape. It looks more streamlined to be like, I don't know, it looks more like a gadget. It obviously is not themed to be a sword, even though sadly, right, this is Dranzer sword or Dran sword. And then again, the way you attach this is different now. You don't slide it with those locking pieces, which can sometimes be difficult to take off. Instead, you looks like you have a lock bar here. So we put it down. It's spring activated actually, so you have to hold it down, and then that reveals this section there, and then we slide it in, interlocked, whichever way you want to put it in. And then when you let go, it locks back into place. And this is how, if you guys watched my my videos about how I set up my grips and my launchers, this is the way I prefer. I like to pull this way. But the nice thing is it's more convenient because when you want to change it, you can just, again, pull that down, take it off, and then now let's say I wanted to do this way. So then same thing, now I would just slide it like that. And that looks cool because it goes like this, you know. But then now you kind of have to go like that. I don't think your muscles in your arms are as strong going this way, but that does look pretty clean like that because of the way that the black goes down here. You know, put some stickers. Maybe they'll give us, I'm surprised they didn't give us any decals or anything for that. It's also nice how it says Beyblade X string launcher. But there's the string launcher. And lastly, my goodness, man. Here's the ratchet. These are super tiny, man. I just recently picked up some Metal Fight because my nephew, you go check out his channel, Mikey88, he got a huge haul. He found secondhand for an incredible deal with a lot of the Metal Fights from Hasbro when they were releasing like Takara Tomies. And they actually seem even bigger than this. But again, we're only in the early generation, right? So we'll see how the Beyblades themselves evolve, both in complexity and in size, right? I mean, especially coming from the DB Ultimate, right? DB Ultimate was ginormous, which is again why you wanted to play on the DB Standard Base Stadium. And then look at the size of these compared to the Stadium. You know, I'll take off my sunglasses to give you guys a little bit more context. I mean, look at that. This thing barely fits in the size of a lens. It'll be kind of funny. Let me grab a Figure Arts for some more comparison. Same with this. Look how tiny that is. Jeez. And then these Figure Arts are about, you know, 6 inches. So that gives you another scale. But yeah, again, super simple. And again, my honest opening critique and impressions is that, you know, it's like the beginning of Beyblade Burst, all the way up until Cho Z, where you had basically just 3 parts. And it's reversed now because, you know, Beyblade Burst, you know, had a combination of plastic primarily with metal inside. And then the forged disc was pure metal. And then they allowed us to add frames before, you know, upgrading into GT, where things got really interesting and you put the layer weight metal inside. You could swap a chip, and then all the way to DB, where you had like high mode, low mode. You could switch around like the core, the armor inside, and all of that stuff. And basically, you know, frames, and then they had chassis for sparking. But yeah, it's such an interesting kind of like de-evolution, you know, going back to the beginning, starting over as a reset, and then again getting the Metal Fight people back in. So we'll see, man. A lot of people have been complaining, not a lot of people, but there's a lot of people when Burst came out that were like, oh, you know, I miss Metal Fight. I want to play Beyblade only when it's metal. Well, let's see, you know, let's see if those people are going to come back out the woodworks. At the same time, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that will miss Burst and Plastic Generation, because for me, Plastic Generation, Beyblade Burst had the best looking Beyblades and the most customization, and overall just the best gameplay balance strategy for both, you know, attack, stamina, balance, and all that. Unequivocally, and I think, you know, it's, you know, irrefutably, or, you know, just you can look and see the differences, right? And not to say Beyblade X is bad, and who knows, because when they evolve it, maybe they start finding ways to make the layers more gimmicky. Because again, Beyblade Burst is like the king of gimmicks. Pretty much all of them worked, except for maybe one or two. And even when, you know, the one or two that didn't work out well, like maybe the bullet driver, which was prone to breaking very easily, it still technically worked. You know, you launched it, the bullet driver shot out, pretty cool. You know, might not have been the most powerful part or gimmick, but still super thematic and super fun. So we'll see how that plays out here, because to me, the bits are kind of boring, right? They're basically just giving us reshapes of old drivers. You know, we're getting the flat here with no rubber on it. It's kind of like an Excel or something like that. And, you know, they give us like the needle, which we've gotten in metal form a lot of times, because now they all have to have this gear. So for better or for worse, you can't make gimmicky drivers, right? I mean, it'd be a lot harder. Not to say you can't. It's not impossible. But if they do, they're going to 100% be limited unless this somehow doesn't, you know, become the needed stadium. Like, that'd be crazy if in a year from now Beyblade X even releases a new stadium and doesn't encourage you to play with this. But again, this is all just wild predictions. I don't know. As far as I'm, you know, I'm thinking it would make sense that this would be the entire stadium, or, you know, the stadium, the standard stadium throughout the entire run of Beyblade X for whatever, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Maybe some deviation, but at least it's going to always have to have the gear lining, right? Unless, once again, they start going back to the previous gen and the, you know, original style of drivers and all that. So in the meantime, this is what you get. And, you know, the ratchet looks kind of funky. It's interesting that they also give these contact points. We'll see how that works out. Like, is it better to have more contact points for attack types, less, you know, or is it better for defense, stamina to have more, to give you more centrifugal force? So we'll see. Interestingly enough, I like how this actually reminds me of the GT chip, this little shape that you have to put the ratchet in. So let's find out how we put it in. This will be my first time ever assembling a Beyblade X, guys. Here's the history of it. August 16. It's not even that easy to do, but let's try. Oh yeah, see, it's here. No wonder, duh, I'm doing upside down. This white section here looks like a GT chip, very, you know, albeit super miniature. And then that goes there. Yay! And then, that's it? What the? There's no twisting? I don't know. Let's see. It's weird because it doesn't twist, you know, like in Beyblade Burst. This thing like turns, as you can see. Yeah, I guess that's it. All right, let's launch it, and then that'll be it. Last thing we'll say, oh, and then obviously I'll get this stuff on there later, but it comes with obviously instructions and the tabs to lock the stadium in place, right? So you're gonna use these white tabs here with the X on them to lock these into place, so I'll be doing that. But one thing I will say and end off with that I really like is how they've gone away. And if you look at my previous videos about what I wanted for 4th gen, or my critiques on Beyblade Burst in general, is I didn't like how they were always referencing mythological characters, you know, like Valkyrie and like, what is it? You know, Ragnarok and all that stuff. And I like the designs, you know, Spriggan, you know, I like the designs and the names sound cool, but like, I really wish that they went more original, you know. And don't get me wrong, I think Valkyrie looks cool, you know, it's like if you just take it for what it is, like a female warrior, but some things are undeniable, right? You have to be careful on what you use, because, you know, they make references to, you know, again, mythology and religion, you know, like there's a Shindra and stuff like that for people who are into, you know, understand the Indian culture and things like that. So, you know, I'm glad they went away from that. Bottom line is they needed to go away from that. But, you know, it's cool. It's just wizard, dragon. And that's even what I was saying. I was like, in my video last year, I was like, they should just go to like RPG elements, you know, like having a sword or an axe, or like the Beyblade is your weapon. And that's what they did. So I'm really happy. Like, I don't know if Takara told me you heard it. They kind of were doing that in the beginning, but you know, they started out in Metal Fight with like, it was also, from what I understand, like I'm trying to think like Pegasus, you know, Capricorn, that's all like astrology, but I don't know if that was Metal Fight or like second gen. Anyways, they're going back to, you know, just standard stuff, you know. We have Shark Edge coming out, so it's like animals. It's like animals and like RPG classes, right? We have Wizard, we have Knight, you know, Sword, you know, Dragon Sword. So to me, I'm super happy with that. It's gonna make the storyline and the anime and the manga more watchable for me, and easier for me to get behind when I talk about characters. Although some characters, like, I don't really like to talk about, you know, too much, as you know, I won't really be mentioning Hell's Scythe that much. To me, they should have just been like, this would have been so cool. Like, I'm gonna call this like Skull Scythe. I think that sounds better. And obviously it's a skull, so, you know, Flaming Skull Scythe or something. Flaming Scythe, something like that. But you know what I mean? So other than that, I mean, everything else so far in Beyblade X has been pretty cool. Last thing is the artwork, though, to me, I think is lacking. It looks like, on one hand, I like it because it looks like kind of like retro toys from the 80s and the 90s that you would buy with, like, you know, just generic artwork, like, oh, Wizard, Knight, you know, Skeleton, you know, Skull, and like, you know, Monster or Dragon. So in one way I like that, but it's interesting that they chose to go so plain. I mean, when you look at other ones, like, again, Capricorn, Sagittario, they also look pretty plain, but they did look a little bit more detailed, bang, with, like, you know, Dranzer and stuff like that. They at least put a full-bodied sticker of, like, the, you know, character's, you know, creature or whatever in the center. So on one hand it looks cool, on the other hand it looks a little bit more also toned down and a little bit more generic, like something that I would see on, like, I don't know, a graphic design website to just like use or something. But you know, it's fine. Again, I'm just happy that, like, this is a blue dragon sword. I think that's really, really cool. This is my favorite one so far. I also like the Knight. Knight's gonna be really nice. And yeah, so lastly, we'll just take a look at this. Again, super thick, chunky metal. The shape is basically reminiscent of a Valkyrie or whatever the, you know, triple blade attack is, right, of the series. That's basically what this is. And I wish this was the main character, though, because the main character is that dude, the flame, not the the scythe, the skeleton scythe, skull scythe. And oh my goodness, look at UPS, man. I'll open up this in a new video, but man, they smashed my box. All right, anyways, yeah, I think it looks nice, you know, shiny, and that's it. All right, guys, I'll launch it, and then I'll be getting on to my next video. And yeah, now they use a triple prong approach. This way, too, I'm sure they want you to not be able to use any other previous gens together. So that's, you know, obviously why they did that. But it's also more stable. My first launch ever, Beyblade X, in the different position than what I normally do. All right, let's see. That was smooth. Had a nice pull, had a good feel to it. It felt in between the strength of a GT launcher and a DB launcher. A little bit more weighted, like a DB launcher. And then there's just a standard launch. Spins nice. It looks good. You know, it's shiny, silver. They're pretty much all going to be like that. So you kind of lose that spin aesthetic when you look at your DBs and your GTs and you watch them spin. You can see a lot more different colors and things like that. Here, they're all going to basically be silver with one color in the middle. All right, now let me launch it harder one more time, and let's watch it fling around the gear. Try to move this a little bit closer. Oh, I didn't put it on right. Hold on. What did I not do correctly here? I can't twist it. Is that because... Let me see. Sorry about that, guys. I know it's not in properly because it does it turn harder? I'm trying to turn it left and right, but man, it is not moving. Oh wait, you know what? Maybe because... Ah, there it is. Okay. So you do have to twist it. Okay, so what I did, sorry I did off camera, but basically what I did was I put the ratchet on by itself first, and then I twisted it counterclockwise to the left. No, this is a right spin. So I twisted to the left, and then this blue plastic here actually twisted into place and locked, and then I inserted the bit. Okay, so now it shouldn't burst when it hits the gear wheel. There it goes. Oh yeah! Nice. Okay, not strong enough to go back out into the outside, but we saw it there, and it makes a nice little scratchy sound right when it goes and hits the gear wheel. Do it one more time. I'll do it a little bit closer. Come on, come on. Oh, not strong enough. Interesting too, doing a little bit of a flower pattern. I like that. There it is. Yeah, works perfectly. Cool, guys. Well, there it is, Beyblade X. I got a ton of unboxings to do. You know, I'll be getting pretty much all of them. DB and GT will always be my favorite, but I'm excited to actually be playing a series from the very, very, very beginning, like an entire generation. Again, I came into the burst generation late. I came into it around the middle.